Good morning, good afternoon, everybody, wherever you are watching this event. My name is Rocío, and I am an engineer from Spain working in the United States as a director of sales and marketing for Synthetics. This is my second year working on this event, and this year I am part of the organizing committee along with Jose, Bianca, Mario, Sei, and Amir. We have been working on this event for a year now, so we hope you enjoy it. First, I would like to talk about the event structure. We'll have 3 presentations today. Each presentation will last around 25 minutes, and we'll have a Q&A session of 15 minutes after each presentation. Something new this year is that we will be selecting the best speaker at the end of this day, so please stay with us until the end. Your vote will be very, very important for us. We'll open the poll after the third presentation. During the last Q&A, around 15 minutes, you will be able to vote for the best speaker. We also have a jury today that will be evaluating every presentation. Today, the jury members are Sebastián Iglesias, he is chair of YPCOM, Siobhan, Europe Africa Vice Chair Supporter, Bianca, and Amir as part of the organizing committee. Jose and I will be the moderators today. After the closing words, we will both come to the stage and announce the selected winner. We are so excited. Now let's start the first day of the PIANC Young Professional International Virtual Event 2022. I have the pleasure to introduce Francisco Esteban Leffler. He is the president of PIANC and has a master in civil engineering from Polytechnic University of Madrid, Spain, and another master in construction and electricity engineering from Army Superior Polytechnic School. I had a hard time to fit all his accomplishments in the short period of time that I had to introduce him. He was working in the Ministry of Defense. After that, he worked in the Ministry of Transportation as Chief of Department of Projects. Then he was working in a construction company from Spain, having different positions for over 20 years. And he's an independent consultant now. He also has many other accomplishments that many people will never be able to achieve. So, Francisco, the stage is all yours.
Thank you very much, Rocío. Well, good morning in America, good afternoon in Europe and Africa, and in Asia and Australia, well, good night. I am very honored by the kind invitation of the Young Professional Commission of PIANC to give this introduction. This is the second edition of the PIANC Young Professional International Virtual Event. The experience of last year was outstanding, and I see this year is even better, with an excellent organization, so congratulations in advance. Young professionals are essential for PIANC. The Young Professionals Commission was created to provide the young professionals with the opportunity to work together with best world experts in waterborne transport and recreation, navigation infrastructure, in PIANC commissions and working groups. Additionally, YPCOM provides the young professionals with opportunities for networking worldwide and develop national, bilateral, regional, and worldwide events as the one we start today. I am sure we will attend excellent presentations and have even some competition between friends that will provide some, let's say, salt and pepper to this event. PIANC will explore in the future more ways to foster the professional development of the young professionals. The young professionals, even having specific activities for them and organized by them, as this one we are in, are not a collateral part of PIANC, but a fully core group of our association. YPCOM is one of PIANC commissions and is very important for PIANC. As I am just an SYP, that's no so young professional, I don't want to steal much of your time. You are connected to hear excellent presentations and not to hear me. I'm sure we will attend excellent presentations in this couple of days. I wish you all the best. I will not take any more of your time. So have a nice conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Francisco. Now we are going to start with the presentations. The first one is Leandro Piton. He is a civil engineer and a specialist in port engineering from University of Buenos Aires, Argentina. He is also the technical advisor of the General Administration of Ports in Buenos Aires Port. He works as a professor and support researcher of a project called Wave Energy Project in the National Technological University of Buenos Aires. He helps PIANC being Vice President of Young Professionals of the National Section of PIANC Argentina, and also Young Professional Delegate of the Argentine National Section at the PIANC Maritime Navigation Commission, MARCOM. He is going to talk about the importance of recent studies before, during, and after the useful life of port works. Leandro, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Rocio. First of all, I would like to thank IPCOM for the opportunity to present this work to Rocio, Jose, Amir Hamed, Joe, Sai, Bianca, Mario, Francisco, and Sebastian, for all the work that they have been developing with the work, the group, and to all those who are participating in this virtual international congress. Thank you very much for listening. The presentation intends to emphasize the importance of research studies and monitoring of the works framing in port engineering. On repeat occasion, we find ourselves with port projects that lack the fundamental field studies with which the corresponding details and definitive engineering for the construction, avoiding unnecessary contractual disputes. In the case of the operation of a port terminal and waterway, it could happen that the necessary basic maintenance works are not carried out, which from the point of view of port engineering are considered essential for the useful of any impact anthropic. Understanding the most of the structure and foundation failures could be taken in time before they occur, avoiding damage on a different scale, involving the same from human victims to construction losses, and also reducing maintenance costs arising from the repairs to be carried out later. In conclusion, it seeks to raise awareness of the importance of carrying out research work, both prior to carrying out any port engineering works and later during its exploitation period, taking into account that the events that occur may at least be useful for other construction with similar characteristics. As an example of a geotechnical investigation strategy, it is based on the information collected and the visit to the sites, allowing a good enough understanding of the problem to be able to propose a geotechnical model of the area under study. Based on the results obtained, a first measurement campaign is scheduled that include a geophysical survey and surface sampling. Understanding by all parties of the implication of going down in early construction involvement, routes, and a shared willingness to accept the implication and crucial to the achievement of benefits. Structuring an appropriate construction framework to deal with the early construction involvement stage may be needed to provide the necessary confidence and protection. It's a strategy needed by infrastructure owners towards main contractor, optionally expanded with stakeholders and subcontractors. The purpose of this is to optimize values in project delivery and objectives through their participation and knowledge sharing in stage of project planning and design prior to execution contract award. The hallmarks of a successful ICI process: good faith, transparency, equal treatment of all parties, fairness, clarity through clear rules of achievement, and protections of intellectual property. The input of contractual expertise into the development of design and the definition of client requirements during the pre-construction phases of a project is particularly relevant to structures projects, including maritime and inland waterway related projects. It raises the convenience of the adequate provision of geotechnical information to avoid subsequent claims in contracts. The experience of civil engineering works on land shows that there is a strong correlation between the quality of the field information provided to the contractor and the result of the contract. The picture was prepared in Australia in connection with major road construction, for example, works about a 20 years period where excavation is one of the main items of the work. In this case, the cost of field investigation is around 1% of the volume of the work. It clearly indicates that claims for additional payment can be significantly reduced if complete geotechnical information is provided at the bid submission stage. This aspect allows contractors to have a realistic appreciation of the existing geotechnical conditions and the associated risks. It also makes it easier to identify previously unknown conditions that can be better considered in some clause of the contract, avoiding unnecessary contract disputes. Now we are going to see a sample of different strategies for geotechnical investigation for the conveniency of adequate provision of geotechnical information to about subject claims in contracts. Picture 1, examination of shoreline rock of crops may give a good understanding of shore. 2, inspection of the site and surrounding is a vital part of the tender process for contractor. And the last one, determination of the nature of the subsoil by viewing in situ characteristics. The next one, we can see a recurrent use during site investigation works, close-up of the elevated platform of geotechnical sample through a shovel rock sieve, and undertaking undisturbed soil samples using a ship-mounted rotary drilling rig as a part of shore site investigation work for its major marine development. In the ground, the potential of occurring indicate that data is created when errors are made in the initial phase of the investigation, the definition of requirements and needs, planning, resources, and timing. It's important that the design of an investigation or a monitoring program suits the actual site condition and construction characteristics. The investigation program should be flexible so that adjustment to the program can be made during the investigation when necessary. The costs associated with redoing part of the investigation at a later stage or the design or alternative construction methods is generally far greater than the cost of the original investigation. In determining the optimal maintenance strategies, various options are considered. Different idealized strategies for the maintenance of assets are shown schematically. 2 graphs, A and C, describe theoretical level of maintenance, whereas describes the likely real-life situation in case B. Graph A represents an asset is operated without appropriate maintenance to a minimum acceptable level of safety after a relatively short lifespan. Arriving at that point, the asset must be strengthened, replaced, or be operationally restricted until necessary replacement works can be carried out. Graph C show the extended life cycle of a perfectly constructed and maintained asset. In reality, there is little evidence that either such situation exists for navigation infrastructure. Graph B shows the life cycle of a structurally adequate asset which offers various options of maintenance works during its life. Preventive corrective maintenance. In applying different maintenance strategies, it is important to strike a balance between preventive and corrective maintenance. It must be understood that the use of corrective maintenance may result in the restriction of navigation traffic before it shows result. There are also significant influence on cost and maintenance level. The next one, emergency protection, for example, measures are by nature quickly built and not well-designed measures. The necessity to construct emergency protection can, to a great extent, be avoided by property monitoring, planning, and funding. The picture indicates the sensitivity of the cost of each of the components of the work to changes in the characteristics of the soil with respect to a base case. For the same, the sand material was chosen, and the cost variation for other materials was calculated depending on the time of structure. It can be observed how the maximum variation occurred in the case of the dredging works, increasing by 500% in the case that the soil is hard rock instead of sand. The next one, groundness are normally strengthened structures perpendicular to the shoreline. They work by blocking the littoral drift, wherever they trap maintain sand on their upstream side, for example. Sandbagging using easily available sandbags, such as ground bags, is often used as emergency protection. However, such bags are not durable, which result in quick failure. Example of failure of concrete blocks prevents can also consist of a combination of a sheet pile wall, wood or concrete, possibly protected by a rubble mound revestment to minimize reflection. The next one, we can see all structure require maintenance, but it's possible to design a structure requiring more or less of it. The total cost of maintenance is usually capitalized using a specific interest rate. Usually, structures with low maintenance require a big initial investment and low capitalized maintenance, while structures with high maintenance require low investment and high capitalized maintenance. For a rubble mound structure, the size of the armor unit is an important cost factor. Capitalized cost versus rock size of armor unit for rubble mound structure divided in the following cost elemental: initial, maintenance, and total. The larger the armor rock, the lower the maintenance cost. However, large rocks are initially more expensive than small rock. The optimum point is where the total combined costs of initial works and capitalized maintenance are minimized. Here we can see corrosion in sheet piles in first image. In the second image, the effect of liquefaction for having carried out the necessary studies. In this case, we have observed the displacement of the slabs of a pier due to the elevation of the water level. In the second image, the collapsing of a spring due to overload. The last case of structural failure is due to the overload of iron near the pier in USA. Well, in this case, we can see life cycle measurement of port work. Port structures as concept during the life of the structure are subject to the life process, to the life cycle process. In general, the life cycle measurement refers to a concept which considers the relationship between the phases of the life of a structure and important key aspects. The report this work identifies 4 phases in the life cycle. Then one, planning and design, element fabrication and construction, operational removal. The aspects considering are financial, technical, and safety. The purpose is to provide owners with cost-effective and practical system to facilitate the maintenance of port infrastructures throughout their shelf life. The preservation and long-term use of existing facility depends on the efficient operation, maintenance, repair, and renovation of these structures. The need to prolong the useful life of infrastructures beyond the original design requires knowledge of it and its importance based on effective state inspection regimens, bureaus, data recording, and presentation of results in a way that is relevant to decision makers. Thank you for listening. That's all.
Thank you so much, Leandro. Thank you so much for this presentation. It was awesome. Now, I would like to ask you a few questions. Let's see if we have a few questions. Okay, we don't have questions yet. So please send us all the questions that you want Leandro to answer.
Okay, thank you.
Leandro, do you want to say anything?
No, it's okay.
Okay. Okay, I think we have the first question now. Let's see. Why did you choose this research topic?
Okay. Based on carrying out inspection in different ports, I observed that in many cases, the corresponding prevent and corrective maintenance is not carried out. It waits for failures to occur before repairing them. This generates higher costs and, in some cases, the impossibility of repairing, having to build a new structure.
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Let's see. Let's wait for more questions.
Yes, I have a question, Leandro.
Yes.
How could you continue investigating this topic?
Yes. In my opinion, PIANC reports are a great help to learn from other examples. It is essential to record the experiences obtained so as not to make the same mistakes, to help each other. I consider it's important to make the problem visible in future PIANC reports for the entire community that requires it.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mario.
I think we got another question. Let's see. Okay, what results did you find in conclusion?
Yes, it's very important to carry out maintenance and record all the repairs and condition of the structures and waterway in a system. In this way, monitoring and action could be carried out before failures occur, avoiding deteriorating and risk for users. I think that.
Okay, thank you, Leandro.
Thank you, Rosy.
We're gonna wait 5 more minutes to see if we get more questions.
Okay.
Hi, Leandro.
Hi.
I have a question for you. I noted that you show one of the recent work from Markham working group about the framework for early constructor involvement, right?
Yes.
Correct. Perfect. So, what was the major input that you used from that, let's say, work into your investigation and your presentation?
Yes, I think that the point, the essential point is transparency with both stakeholders and equal treatment of all parties. I think that the input of contractor expertise into the development of design and the definition of client requirements during the pre-construction phases of a project is particularly relevant to infrastructure projects, including maritime and waterway related projects, oil projects. But I think that is very important for all construction in general.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I believe that this work from this guy from the working group, it provides a valuable input for the surveys that need to be carried out before engineering. I've been involved personally in projects that there are lack of this kind of information, and as you highlighted in your presentation, that at the end are more nightmares than anything else. So thank you for remark this topic.
Thank you.
Thanks for your question, Jose. Leandro, we have another question. Hi, thank you for your presentation. What is your soft skill recommendation in these contracts?
Yes. Okay. In my opinion, I think that the recommendation maybe is participate with stakeholders and all people interested about in the construction. For example, ONG and think that it's particularly necessary. For example, before the begin the the construction, of course.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, I think we don't have any more questions. Thank you so much, Leandro, for your time today, for your awesome presentation. And well, for everybody, we are going to have a break now. It's going to be a 10 minutes break. And then after that, we will have the next two presentations. Bye.
Okay, we're back. Thank you so much for staying connected. It's my pleasure to be part of this international virtual event that, thanks to the last year's success, it's somehow becoming a signature event of PIANC. Before proceeding, I would like to thank the organizing committee for the hard work done for the past few months, and also, of course, to PIANC organization for the valuable support provided to make this happen. It's a pleasure to be here, and I hope you are enjoying the event as I am. Just saying, despite the World Cup is running right now, and I believe that few of us are tempted to check the match. Just considering the nationalities that are gathered together in today's season, I believe that we can play our own World Cup. So this is some of the valuable advantage of being part of PIANC that connects people from everywhere. So do not feel tempted, and please stay connected to see who wins the cup at the end. Okay, great. Let's move forward. The second speaker of today's session is from Brazil, João Vieira. He is a port logistics specialist, currently pursuing a master's degree in ocean engineering at COPE Research Center. With more than 5 years of experience in port planning and development, is currently working in Tecum Santos, Brazil, as operational intelligence analyst. He also is an active member of PIANC, highlighting his role as a director membership of PIANC Young Professionals Commission of Brazil. Today, he will be presenting the Brazilian Container Port Terminals Capacity Analysis, a market intelligence outlook. Please, João, take over the stage, and the best luck for you.
Yes, thanks, Jose, for the introduction. First, thanks, PIANC, for the opportunity to present a market intelligence outlook of the Brazilian container terminal ports capacity analysis. So, and also thanks for the audience and all my friends that are watching me. So, yeah, let's take control. Let's get moving. So, yeah, so just a quick summary of my presentation. The 3 important points in my presentation. So I will show an overview of the Brazilian port logistics and infrastructure, so the Brazilian container terminals. Then I will present a technical review and also some important definitions and the main formulations for capacity analysis. So based on PIANC working groups. So as Jose said, it's a part of my master dissertation research. So Brazil, everyone knows Brazil's located. Oh, sorry for that. Some just disconfigure this slide, but the logistics of Brazil, we have more than 4,400 kilometers of coastlines. So from the Amazon rivers until the La Plata River, we have all the main liner services attending Brazil. So we do have from the Manaus to Rio Grande terminal, that's in Brazil. So as we can see, where Santos is located. Based on 2021, a survey that I have done in my research. So we have around 31 liner services attending Brazilian coast, so the east coast of South America. And then we also have around 20 long distance and 11 feeder cabotage services. So now I will explain a bit more about how to understand a container terminal, how to understand the logistics and the infrastructure. So the first thing you have to understand is that a container terminal, it's a node, it's a logistic node of the supply chain connecting the interland through the foreland. So to understand now how the container terminal operates, we need to divide the container terminal in cells. So you have the berth area that it's designed about the design vessel. So all the infrastructure that's available, it's designed according to the design vessel. So we also have the quay that can be just next to the yard or detached to the yard. And you have also the yard itself, that's the heart of any container terminal. So it's where you storage the cargo. And also you have the gates, and you have many different systems of gates. You can have the gate in and out separate or together. It depends of the layout, how the terminal is designed. And then you have all the superstructure of the container terminals. That is all the equipments available. So in the quay you have the key cranes, and in the yard you have the that's container handle equipment. So we have different mixes that it also implies on the capacity of the terminal, because every kind of equipment you have a requisition of the height of the piles you can do, and also you have the gate with different system technologies available. So now let's look again to the outlook of the infrastructure we have in the Brazilian container terminals. So the as of the infrastructures today, we have around 16 container ports. I counted about 12 container terminals. So I have 47 dedicated berths, 120 key cranes. So I counted the survey in 2021. So in the overall, we have 16.2 kilometers of quay length. And we do also have, next slide, yes. So we also have around 637 or 38 hectares of terminal area, counting all the terminals. So we also have 300, about the half of the area. We have this alpha yard area, and it counts all the terminals together, counts about 17 million of TEUs for annual capacity. So it's all the count of Brazilian terminals. So this number represents about 441 TEUs of static capacity. So it's the volume that statically all the terminals can store. All this infrastructure outlook, it's serving about 1.6. It's serving 214 million people, the Brazilian population, and Brazil has a GDP of around 1.6 trillion of dollars. So the next slide, I will show up the 2B, so the future projects of I've seen that I have surveyed in Brazil. So as I counted before, we had 16 container ports. So we add more 2 in the future projects. We will get 18 future in the future container terminals. So we are about to get more 6 container terminals, and adding more 17 berths, adding more 53 key cranes. It's just an estimation based on what I have got on the news. So we also have to add about 6.5 kilometers of key length. So more, almost 400 of terminal area, and adding some 10.9 millions of TEUs capacity of in the overall project. So in the future, we are about to get 28.5 millions of TEUs of annual capacity, counting all the Brazilian infrastructure. So in the next slide, I will show up how to measure, how to calculate a capacity. So as we know, we have this the PIANC working group 158. So in the PIANC working group, in the chapter A, in chapter 6, we have the formulations to calculate a container terminal capacity. But one important thing, the most important thing that you have to keep in mind when you measuring capacity of any existing terminal or a new terminal, it's about the time spent in every area of the container terminal. So it's about the berth time. In the berth time, you have the time that the vessel spends on a berth. So it's really important to measure, because it belongs to the how many scales, vessel calls the terminal can receive. So the service times, that refers to the how many moves every key crane can do. So you count the crane intensity of the key cranes that you get to take your benchmark, and then you project this about the service you can do. And the container dwell time also, it's as the yard is the heart of the terminal, the container dwell time is one of the most important time measure to determine the terminal capacity. So when we count about the volume that the terminal can receive, it's in TEUs, you consider the yard measure, so the container dwell time. And you also have the gate. The gate, it's all about the gate cycle time. So how many entrances you can perform per hour, how many entrances you can perform a day, but you also have to consider in the gate the peak times that really stress your infrastructure. So I just show up the overall in the formulations to understand the capacity calculation of a container terminal. But if you want to look it more refined, you need to segregate and understand the flows that pass through your terminal and take these numbers. So basically, the import flow, you have one container just unloading from your vessel. So we have one move for your key cranes and the gate out. For export containers, you have the gate in of a container and you have the loading of the container in the vessel. But for the transshipment and restore flows, you have a container just going, just unloading and going back to the same vessel or the other vessel for loading. If it's transshipped, it's another vessel. So you have two moves, so you count twice at this number. So the number that we have in the statistics is basically is based on the throughput, so the container throughput. So when we look the Brazilian statistics of container terminals handling, so we have the ANTAC database. It's a quite good database. It's an open source database. So we can see from this panel, I've shown the throughput of 2021, how many TEUs per year each terminal have moved. So I've drawn a line just to show up the 1 million and 2 million class of terminals. So in the class of 2 million, we have in 2021 4 terminals, and in the class of 1 million, we have 16. So as I'll show in the next slide, you can see the year-to-year growth of these statistics, and we are about to come for the DP World for this year to be in the class of new over 1 million TEUs handled throughput. So when we accumulate all the handling of the Brazilian container terminals, so we have the mark of 12.2 million TEUs handled in 2021. When we look up to this to compare with the pandemic time, we can see how resilient the Brazilian infrastructure are, because despite the pandemic, all the container terminals have grown together 12%. So it's a good number compared to other terminals in the world. And when we see the top 10 terminals, we also can see that the top 10 handle 83% of the all volume that handled in the Brazilian ports. So it's also, you can see the 12% of growth from the top 10, having 10.1 million of TEUs. So it's quite considerable a number for the top 10. When now in the next slide, I'll show I compare of the capacity and the throughput. So in the final, I will show the occupancy. So, but when we put together the capacity that was estimated based on dwell time, that I know the Brazilian terminals dwell time, it's an estimation, but we have the fluctuation of 5 to 6 and 7 to 8 days, depends on the terminal, depends on the location, and also the business strategy of each terminal. If the terminal retains more import flow, so for a longer time, it have a higher dwell time. But looking up to the capacity classes of terminals, we have 8 terminals in total between 1 and 2 millions, and 12 under this number. So, but you can see Manaus, it's also almost there. So we also have a new investment upcoming, some terminals that can reach this mark of 1 million. So about this estimation, accumulating the capacity of the container terminals, we will get 17.6 million of TEUs a year. It's an estimation of the Brazilian capacity as this scenario. So when we cross this O2 curve, we can see the occupancy. So the occupancy is a quite sensible KPI. So it fluctuates month to month, but in average, you can see this number. It's reflecting the terminal's demand for 2021. But in one case, you can see in the BTP terminal in Santos, you can see that's over 100. Why these numbers over 100? Because during the calculation of capacity, I do consider the operational index of capacity. So it's a bit higher. But if we look again to the top 10 container terminals, we will get 10.1 million of TEUs capacity with 76 of occupancy from this top 10. So in the next slides, I will present a technical review of this, not all the container terminals, but just some of the most important, just starting from Manaus. So how I measure this capacity, how I calculate, how I analyze technically to make a technical data sheet of container terminals. So we have the statistics based on the ANTAC database, but to collect updated information about the yard area, the terminal area, the berth, and the quays, I did it on using some mapping tools, and also we can do this by consulting the master planning reports. But I'll show some numbers of the Brazilian terminals, just some capacity estimations, and just some difference of each terminal. So as you can see, in Manaus port, we have 2 container terminals that they are together, they're linked between one, just together. So we have super terminals and Shibatão group terminal. So as you can see, the nature of this terminal, it's about the Amazon River. So we have a floating jet structure as the quay infrastructure. So we have this floating jet that basically you can berth in both sides. So you can have 2 vessels in each berth. So, and the system, also the yard system I show here, it's the RTGs. So when we look to the next, so to the PIANC container terminal, we have an interesting case that's an offshore container terminal. So we have the yard in the land and they have a berth with a buffer area for the yard at the quay. So it's a detached infrastructure. So imagine this circulation of trucks here. You have about 4 kilometers. So to go and come back with every terminal tractor, so it takes a long time. So the turn cycle of the quay must be kept near to the quay. So that's why it's needed the buffer zone. So also the layout shows we can analyze. We can see that's a rich stacker. I know that APM terminals that controls the port have by new RTGs, but this is for the 2021 statistics. So another important port is the Suape port. So today we have 1 container terminal. It's about 1 million TEUs of capacity with 3 berths, but we have a new project being studied, being analyzed for the APM group, that it's about to reach 400 to 1.3 million TEUs with 2 berths. So it's the Maersk group have been adding this project now, so it's running. To the next slide. So it's also RTG handled. So another example, just going now to Salvador. So we have the Wilson Sons. It's a group that's running the Salvador terminal, container terminal. An interesting case, we have a linear berth with these two vessels, but we have also a non-linear berth on the other side. So we can have 2 to 3 berths for the operation. And also the Tecon Salvador has one area for expansion. So it's also RTG handling system. Another interesting cases is showing the Espírito Santo state coastline. So you can see some greenfield terminals. So now we have the Barra do Riacho port. We are about to get a new container terminal, and in the Porto Central, also in the south of the state, we are about to get a new container terminal that have been studied. That's a Porto Central. In the both cases, that's as a greenfield terminal, they are investing it to be automated rail crane. So it will be in the future, this being studied. I can see the other one has been under construction. So just coming now to Rio de Janeiro, the historical port, we have two container terminals. So it's the Multi-Rio and Rio Brazil terminal. So in both, we also have this capacity of 700 to 600,000 TEUs per year. But an interesting project that have been designed, I've seen, it's the an island port that have been designed, a concept that have been designed by the INPH Institute. That is, it will take a new container terminal also with some next slide, with some some straddle system. So it's about to bring about 1.8 million TEUs as an island port. So it's just a concept, but it's interesting, other interesting project that being designed to the historical port of Rio de Janeiro. Next, going down to Santos. Santos, as everyone knows, is the biggest port in Brazil, as one of the most important in South America. So it takes 4 container terminals nowadays. It controls about 40% of the total handling of the Brazil's terminals. So we have the Santos Brazil terminal with 2.2 million TEUs, and we have also the DP World now terminal with 1.2 million TEUs. So we also already have in the DP World RTG and also in Santos Brazil the RTG yard system. But DP World has a space to grow, so the capacity it's about to increase, so to reach about 2 million with this area as it's invested in the next years. So in the next slide, so we do have the BTP terminal that also counts for 3 berths, and in the future that is under discussion to add a new container terminal in the port of Santos. So it's a brownfield terminal. It's already exists a smaller container terminal of Porto, but it's about to bring a new container terminal at the same area with 2.3 million TEUs of capacity. So now both are also RTG system. So that's the system. So for the Paranaguá port, we also have another container terminal as a greenfield terminal. So we have now the TCP terminal with almost 2 million TEUs per year capacity, it's estimated. But we have another terminal, it's Maralto, it's under discussion to bring about 3 million TEUs a year with RMG yard handling system. At least, but not last, we have also in Itajaí and Navegantes port complex, a quite interesting case, that we have 2 side container terminals. So both together brings 1.5 million as Portonave and 600,000 TEUs per year for the APM terminals. So APM is a rich Starker layout and Portonave is RTGs. So yes, that's the presentation. That's just a quick overview of the Brazilian container ports and the calculation I use. So thanks for the audience. My name is João Rivera, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Joao. Thank you very much for your presentation. Actually, it looks like you put a lot of work there. Thank you very much. So we're now starting the Q&A slot. But before proceeding, I would like to encourage the audience to just drop the questions, comments, observations into the chat box that you can activate by clicking on the white arrow at the top of the screen. Okay, so we can see your questions, and for sure Joao will provide details about it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. I I think we have one question from Rodrigo here. Okay, great presentation, Joao. Congratulations. From the results you gathered, have you noticed any difference between private terminals and leased terminals, be it from an utilization perspective, dwell time, retention, or any discrepancy at all, or it's all more or less the same?
Yes, thank you, Rodrigo, for your question. It's a nice question. So just to explain better, so in Brazil, we are the most landlord ports. So we say organized port, it belongs to the government, the area. So it's as a landlord, but we also have private ports or terminals. So this is the question. Basically, there is not much difference between both in terms of operation of efficiency. What does differentiate between each other of the terminals? It's about the projects that each terminal can invest in itself. So as a private terminal, for example, you can invest, you can change some parts of the area. It do not comes to the concession. It's a very, like I say, slow process. So you have to change the operational profile. You can do it quicker in a private port, but in a public port, you can also just swatch this operation more quickly. So not many difference between the performance actually, but just about the governance model and the management strategies. It's not really a case of performance.
Great, thank you so much for this detailed response, Joao. So we have another question now from the jury members. Nice presentation. What will be a natural step further in your research topic? Could this perhaps be related to analyzing other type of indicators such as port efficiency?
Yes, of course. What I showed up, it's how I created the data sheet of the container terminals, the panel of data. So how I come up with this data. But based on this data, we can apply some mathematical methods, as I've done on my research. There's the DEA method, data development analysis. So you can analysis as a benchmarking of the capacity of container terminals. So in any different, so as you have the statistics data, you also can treat the data and show up some rankings, and you can see some difference market share. Also, it's a nice, interesting view. So this is a step further for this research. And you can make year-to-year grow and compare. You can cluster also terminals in between smaller, bigger, or as Rodrigo asked, you can also cluster between private and public, and you can see some difference. So it can be a step further. I'm writing on my master's dissertation that have been not finished yet, but I promise I do it next year. So I have this information more detailed on there.
Interesting. Maybe it can be presented in the next international virtual event.
Yeah, it would be nice to present the results.
Okay, Joao, there is another question for you. Okay, from Samantha. It is beautiful. Okay, sorry, that was actually a compliment for you. Here from Rodrigo. What are your thoughts? Okay, I also noticed some automate projects planned for the future in Brazil. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you believe automatization is really coming to Brazil soon, or will it still take a while?
I do believe that automatization is coming to Brazil soon, because we already have this technology available. So in many other terminals in the world. So it's just about the perspective view of investment. I think it's more realistic if we say the automatization comes for a greenfield terminal than for a brownfield, because for a brownfield terminal, you have a lot of change, you have to change the culture. It's not only the investment on automation, you also have a big investment capex to transform the existing layout to the new layout. But you can have some semi-automated terminals. So between full automated, it might be I think it's coming. Our projects are coming from what I see, but semi-automated might be more realistic for the next years.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Joao, for your reaction. I see that the audience is active right now. We have another question for you from one of the speakers. Great presentation. The resource of the investments are all from private companies, and there are investments in Paraguay, Paraná waterway ports like Cáceres.
So the resource of investment, it as I said, depends of the areas. If it comes most for private companies. If it's a private terminal, private area, so the company have to buy the area and have to invest in the dredging and all the infrastructure, all the assets, it belongs to the private company afterwards. But if the terminal it's in one existing port, as in Santos, you also have the channel to have dredged the channel. So the big expense in investment as dredging, you come part of the public investment and part for private, as you dredging a berth, as you're making some improvements of your quay.
Great. Perfect. Thank you very much, Joao. Again, I see you handle very well the Q&A slot. So thank you again for your presentation. Take into account. Sorry.
Question,
Okay. Yes. Actually, thank you for noted that. Yes, we have. It's very active, the audience. Okay. Here we have another question. What area of the port is usually the bottleneck, the capacity limiting area?
Yeah, this is an interesting question, because the bottlenecks, it varies from time to time. So normally you calculate the quay capacity. So also have the yard capacity and the gate capacity. So the bottlenecks can be in between of those. That depends about how the flows, as I showed the flows. You have to analyze each flow of containers separately to find out the bottlenecks. Because one day the bottleneck can be in 1 month, the bottleneck can be on your quay because of a lot of moves, but in the other day, because of a peak of dwell time, your bottleneck can be on a yard, or on your gate. You have a peak flow of a lot of vessels on delay. You have a lot of trucks arriving at the same time. So the bottlenecks is a really dynamic analysis. So you need to use simulation tools to analyze these bottlenecks under operating container terminal. It's what I used to recommend.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, let me check if there is any other question from the audience. Okay, perfect. So once again, Joao, thank you very much
Thank you.
for the presentation.